War Eagle War Rapport family, I'm your host, C Dub. Fall camp is here, and we talk observations through the first two practices. Also, we preview the offensive line in today's edition of the Weekend Tailgate.
You are now listening to a War Rapport Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by
Athletic Architect.
It's your boy, I Jones. Be Will, C-Dog, Mike G. Get ready, sit on back as we bring you the War Rapport Weekend Tailgate.
War Eagle, everyone. War Eagle, happy Sunday. I'm joined by B. Will, Mike G. Ike may join us later on in the show, but we want to welcome you to the latest edition of the Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by show sponsor Athletic Architects. If you are a student athlete, parent of a student athlete, or you're just someone who wants to start your own LLC, please be sure to visit buildthehouse.com so you can begin planning your financial future today. Thanks to them for definitely being a sponsor of the War Report. We want to thank you guys for hanging out with us on this lovely Sunday. Guys, you can support us also by doing a few things. First off, if you're on social media, share this video, guys. Use hashtag Get Your Weight Up. Help people to find our content, join in on the conversation. Let's go grow our community. Also, if you're out here, don't just be lurking. Smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level and become a patron, Mike G is here to tell you how you can do just that.
Next level stuff is becoming a patron. So become a patron of the War Report. Guys, we are on fire this offseason. We have some crazy content planned for you during the fall. Because you guys have decided to support us financially, we're limiting some of that to patron only. That includes member-only chats for our post-game, our halftime, and our pregame. You want to be a patron member to get in on the community that we're going to have this fall, celebrating the many successes of the Auburn Tigers, or bitching to each other. Either way, $5.99. We're going to do that together. Part of the access you get is early access to interviews. Coy Moore is live for everybody right now. A dynamic conversation with a great young man, supremely confident. I'm going to play a clip of this interview later in the show, but looking forward to some of the things that Coy has on the docket. Guys, every show we're giving away something. Hashtag Get Your Weight Up in the comments to get in on this War Rapport mug. You know what? We've given away a lot of mugs. Auburn basketball is playing today. Let's give away a Lobtown t-shirt. We're giving a Lobtown t-shirt. Hashtag Get Your Weight Up in the comments.
With it.
Let's, in honor of our guys, they're locked in a battle right now with the Israeli select team. So hashtag Get Your Weight Up in the comments. You got to be here at the hour mark to win. So stick around. It's going to be a great show.
Indeed. Guys, y'all doing all right this weekend?
Yeah.
Doing fair.
Auburn basketball and fall camp has started for football.
The basketball team, they looking, yeah. I was worried about that first game. I thought it was too easy, that they were going to be, kind of chilling too hard. Nobody. They are holding their own very well right now.
I mean, we'll probably talk about it later. I'm shocked with Cardwell. Like, Cardwell looks like a ball player now. Like,
I don't know what happened when he declared.
And the reports must not have been kind. They were like, work on A, B, and C. He said, okay, cool.
All right, hold
work on this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah. Work on these.
done.
Channeling his inward Marquise Burks.
Right. Well, listen, let's start off with a lot of news regarding football, guys. As you well know, fall camp has started at Auburn University. Guys have taken to the field. Harsin addressed the media on Thursday as well, and a lot of observations has come out of the weekend. Let's just start with one of the first observations, guys. TJ Finley and Zach Calzada are splitting time with the ones. TJ Finley, of course, got involved in a little situation that Harsin kind of pretty much put to bed, and we saw on Friday morning TJ was out there practicing, working with the ones. Nothing big there, but thoughts so far about this quarterback race. Many people over the offseason, it seemed, and Mike, you alluded to it, I think we all agreed, it seemed like Zach Calzada won the offseason in terms of perception. with some of the videos that came out of him throwing to receivers, looking good in the process. But here we are, 2 practices in, and it appears to still be a pretty big battle between Finley and Calzada. Thoughts on that, Mike?
Listen. So we cautioned everybody early about, what things look like. I think that this is a really good quarterback room. I think this is one of the best quarterback rooms as a whole that we've had in a really long time, with Calzada, TJ, Robbie, and the young gun Holden Garner. So we saw the improvements that Bo made last year. There's no reason to believe that this staff can't work their same magic with the guys who are in this room as well. So, like I said, if you don't think that our quarterback last year improved over the year before, I don't know what to say to you. But I think we should credit a lot of that to the current staff. So, development is not. I don't know, man. I just don't think it's based on one player. It's a coaching staff thing. That's why these other programs in the SEC, the top half of the programs, do so well year in and year out. Is they identify, evaluate, and develop talent at a high level. I think that we're on the develop part is where they're trying to catch up with the guys that they have. Identify, and evaluate will come in recruiting down the road. They're doing it as we speak. But I think that we have a quarterback race. It'll be interesting to see when they decide to name somebody, because you got to start getting ready for game 1 here in about a week and a half. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody pulls away in these first few days. We know from talking to our guy, Chris Todd, a lot can happen in a week in fall camp.
Yeah.
A lot can happen. So we'll keep our eyes peeled. Either way, I feel good about Plan B this year.
Okay. Whatever that is.
Yeah, whatever that is, I feel better about Plan B than I did last year.
B. Will, what are your thoughts on the QB race too? And we have to preface everything. There hasn't been no scrimmage yet,
right,
that will officially separate whoever in the competition. But I want to know your thoughts so far as to what you've observed as it pertains to the QB battle.
Well, what you just said was important. There has been no scrimmage. All right. We've heard for years, we had a good week of practice. And that's not just from any one coach. We've heard many coaches say, well, we had a really good week of practice. Sometime that showed itself because a coach wins a game that a team wins a game nobody expects them to win. And they say, coach says, well, you know what? I knew it was going to happen because we had a really good week of practice this week. And other times I saw quarterback play look malignant, and I just assumed, I was like, man, Bo Nix must be the best practice player ever, because when those bullets are rubber bullets in there, he must look great, because when the real games, he's looking rough, yet we're not pulling them. We're not going to anybody else. There's a huge difference between understanding the playbook, knowing what you're supposed to do, and then executing under pressure. And that pressure is only some of the pressure when you're scrimmaging. The pressure when you're scrimmaging has to be for your job, it's not for your physical safety. You're not going to feel pain if you miss, if you hold that ball too long in the scrimmage. So I want scrimmage. TJ Finley should be able to compete in a practice setting because he has a longer head start than anybody else on this roster. So if he could not at least kind of sort of be in the mix for the lead right now, then that would be, I would worry about his status on the roster at all.
Yeah, it would be concerning.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be concerning. So he's where he should be, considering how long he's been here and how close he's been to this staff and with the offense for as long as he has been. But the real differentiator is going to be scrimmages. That's when the defense is trying to game you. That's when those guys back there are licking their chops to show what they worked on in the offseason, their closing speed, them reading these routes and trying to pick stuff off. That's when we'll see true separation. If there is going to be, hopefully it's extremely tight. Like 2 guys playing well, not 2 guys playing poorly or mediocre, but 2 guys playing well. And it comes down to the second scrimmage, which is when, if I remember last year, they started with, some players at quarterback position, and then they switched it for the second scrimmage and different guys played and all that type of stuff. The second scrimmage, I think, is what will tell us the most about what the status of the quarterback battle is. We're not there yet. I'm glad TJ's still in the mix. I don't want Calzada to just get handed the job. And as much as Hartson talks about competition, I don't think he wants him to just get handed the job either. I don't think he wants anybody handed a job.
Thanks.
So let him battle it out. Yes, TJ should be out here with the ones, I guess, if you want to call it that, at this point in the fall camp, because he's had the longest head start. So, but hopefully what that also tells us is that we saw Harson's the little Top Gun vid that they put out from the football account.
Yeah, this is what Ken Willis asked that y'all see AU football's Top Gun video. So
that was so cool. You know what else that was though? Recruiting. You know why I was recruiting? Did you hear what Harson was talking about? You're going to know every audible and shift and motion. Good. That's quarterbacking. It makes me wonder so much. What was the quarterback room like before? What were they getting taught? Do what I tell you to do. It seems like that was it, because you very, very rarely saw our quarterbacks take control of the game, or at least it wasn't visible that they were doing that. But now it seems like Harson wants to teach quarterbacks how to play the position in full scope, mentally, physically. Knowing everything that there is to know about what this offense can do and knowing how to operate it. And I don't think you're in the running for the leading spot unless you are equipped to do that. So at the very least, it tells me TJ is mentally prepared for this fall camp, and that Calzada is as well. We'll see where it goes from here.
Cleveland Brown, you're in my notes, man. I was getting ready to head here next. Some of the talk out of fall camp is about this particular guy. He asked, facts or not, Camden Brown makes an all SEC freshman team. Appreciate the super chat, by the way. And guys, we'll try to get you a super chats the moment you post them. So if you want to get your question in, please be sure to super chat us. Thoughts on Camden Brown? It was noted that he was participating yesterday with the veterans in the morning session. And that's something to make note of as well. Of course, the practices have been split into a morning session and an evening session, with the veterans practicing early in the day. The newcomers or some of the younger second-year players are practicing in the evening. But Camden Brown, who hadn't been on campus long, was practicing with the veterans on yesterday. What do we make of that on day 2?
You know what? I am really impressed that they put him with the veterans day 2. I don't even know if he was here on campus for the summer conditioning. I know he was here at the start of fall. Right. I don't know exactly when he got here, but he didn't get this spring reps with the offense. He didn't get the strength and conditioning program in the spring. At the earliest, he got here when summer conditioning started, which is, I think, is early June. It's like early June, right?
Yeah.
That means he's a monster. Like, I remember Shedrick reading through the transcript of his interview and him saying that's a really strong dude. Like, strength is noticeable. It isn't an advantage for him. And that just makes me wonder, could he carve out the space for himself? Do we have somebody else with that same skill set? Because if we do, my guess is that the more experienced guy would get the start. But if we don't have anybody who's as a strong leaping ability as Camden Brown is reportedly going to be early, then I guess it's going to be how soon can he learn the playbook? And we might be seeing him sooner than many people thought.
Yeah. Mike G, I know we talked about the wide receiver room a few lives ago, and we're excited about the young guys. We're excited about the Camden Browns. We're excited about, the Jay Fairs and whatnot. So to hear Camden Brown's name being mentioned this early prior to a scrimmage makes you think that there's an opportunity for him to actually see the field and get an opportunity. Your thoughts?
We heard reports of him physically dominating in some of these off-season workouts and these scrimmages. He's a physical specimen. This kid can play ball. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that they're going to play the best guy. Right. Yeah. And I don't think it would be because the guys that we have aren't as good. I think it's because he may be better than expected, much better than expected. Right. So I like the idea of no favorites, man. No more favoritism. Play the best guy, get them out there. And every once in a while, you get a dynamic freshman who comes in and does something like what Keyshawn Butte did his first year at LSU as a freshman. I mean, come on, man. This kid went on there and had a 300-yard receiving game as a freshman, right? So I'm interested to see if Auburn can start to have players break out in their first season that way. I think it's going to be a good signal to recruits as well, too. Like, hey, if I'm the best guy, I want to be the next Keyshawn Butte. I want to be the next Camden Brown. I want to be the next dynamic freshman that goes someplace, takes a spot from somebody, and dominates for 3 years and leaves for the league. So I think it's a good sign that they're bringing in somebody who is pushing the veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in case of injury, you have a guy who's going to be next man up, right? So you need a plan B. You got to have a plan B. It's the SEC, so injuries will make your plan B become your plan A real fast. Camden Brown, I don't know if he's going to be plan B or plan A, but I really am looking forward to seeing some of these kids on the field in the first two. The first two games are a blessing for what we're talking about too.
Right.
Weak opponents that if we're blowing them out, we might get a chance to see him in action in these first two games, and not garbage time action, like early third quarter action where they're actually going to be still playing football and not trying to run the clock out. So we'll see what happens these first two games with Camden.
Imani Smoot says, I can't lie, I'm so excited to see this defense. If our offense is solid, I believe we can make the playoffs and win the national championship. I'm going to believe it until otherwise.
Hey, I know I put $200.
Believe it for me. Believe it for me.
Yeah, I put $200 on it, so I'm rooting for that.
So he said he says he's excited. I mean, I'm looking forward to this defense as well, Imani, for sure. And thanks for the super chat, man. One of the things I want to note about the defense, talking about newcomers, is I read where Jeffrey Mba actually was participating in the morning session as well. And this is someone, Mike G, you've been real excited about it. But one of the things that was his positive was his size. Big dude, strong dude, freakish athlete, but hasn't been playing a lot of ball long. So the question is how fast can they get him along to where he can actually contribute? Seeing him playing or participating in the morning session has to be a good sign, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it is. I wouldn't read too much into the morning session, evening session thing at this point, right? Tuberville used to essentially they had like a freshman camp kind of during 2 days where the first day the freshmen would all just go out. And it didn't mean you weren't going to play or you were already on the second team. It was kind of their way of just slowly adjusting some of the new guys in to the process and the program. And but you can't have all freshmen out there because you wouldn't be able to field a whole you know what I mean?
The offense
practice squad. Yeah. Right. So I expect to see them mix it up a little bit. And I know it's day one of camp. I'd caution everybody about reading too much into who went in the morning session and who went in the evening session right now. And if in a week we're still having the same conversation, sure. But right now, anything can happen in these first couple days. So for Mba, I am excited about him. I'm wondering about conditioning, seeing how he was injured and how quickly he's going to be able to get up to game speed. I don't think we need him game one, so he's got some time to catch up. But I want to see if he can get game ready in terms of conditioning. And I expect to rotate a lot of guys on D-line. They're going to try to stay fresh. Depending on what happens on offense, that might be a necessity. So Jeffrey Mba, number one JUCO in the land. This was the number one JUCO player in the land. You do not earn that designation if you don't have some skill. So I'm looking forward to seeing him come on the field. Remember Nick Fairley? Remember that little known JUCO that just came in and just wrecked all the way to a national title?
Name sounds familiar. Right?
I'm looking forward to, I'm not saying that, Mba is going to be the next Nick Fairley. I'm just saying these JUCOs can come in and do some real damage right out the gate, and it's not going to all be on him. He's got talented guys who will be drawing attention playing with him as well too. So you've got Derek Hall and Eku Leota off the edge just causing problems, and it just free. The more guys that dominate, the more one-on-one matchups somebody like Jeffrey Mba might get. And if I'm supremely confident in my own ability, I love one-on-one. Don't ever leave me one-on-one. That's how you're going to get got. Leave me one-on-one, right? So when you have enough guys that can dominate, you don't have a choice. You just have to pick your poison. When you had guys like Derek Brown, he saw so many double teams.
Right.
They just did whatever they could to stop him, and other guys ate because of it. I think this might be a similar kind of situation.
For sure. And Harsin talked about, speaking of defensive line, he mentioned that Jeremiah Wright is moving back to the defensive line from the offensive line position. And, he mentioned that was what he wanted to do in conversations with him. And so, it makes you wonder, how are we looking on offensive line versus the depth we already have kind of established on D-line. Wright is right now, according to the Auburn website, the biggest guy we have on the D line. And we talked a lot about Jason Jones and how big he is. So Jason Jones already working with the first team, but what's the likelihood that we see Jeremiah Wright come in and kind of switch some things up? Remember, they was raving about him until his injury last year. Right. And so, you have to wonder about his ability to contribute. Maybe he's ready to go. Maybe he's ready to pick up where he left off. But your thoughts on that, I'll be Will.
I'm wondering a lot about how that defensive line is going to look, not only with Jeremiah Wright, but I mean, we got a lot of dudes. We've got two who we know are going to start, and I'm counting the edge as the line in this case with Kobe Wooden. We know he could have gone to the draft and he would have gotten drafted. How soon he would have gotten drafted, I don't know, but he is an NFL player who decided to do us a favor and stick around for his last year. So he's number one. Derek Hall is a certified NFL pass rushing edge. Again, he could have gone to the draft and he would have gotten drafted. How soon? I'm not sure. But we've got two NFL players already on that line. If you're telling me that Jeremiah Wright is going to be in at defensive tackle, then that means he would have to be beating out Marcus Harris, or depending on the alignment, if it's a 3-5 type thing, then we could have 3 down defensive linemen, and Kobe Wooden would be one of those guys. Marcus Harris might be, but Jason Jones has a higher likelihood of being a player on that line early if we're in a 3-5 alignment. If we're only 4, then we only got 2 defensive tackles. Then I wonder who that second one is going to be next to Kobe Wooden, because Kobe Wooden is going to be one of them. I don't know how that looks, because I don't know if his size means that Jeremiah Wright is going to kind of be playing the nose tackle position the same way that Jason Jones would. And at this point, I don't know. Does his transition to offensive line leave him a little behind as far as development, as far as what he was physically training to do in the offseason? I don't know. I don't know even when Jeremiah Wright decided to come back to defensive line, but it seems that he's one of those types of players that just has it. His aggression and his physical ability. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been. He played both ways in high school, so it's not like it's foreign to him. Right. So he has the ability to transition between those two positions. So I would love to see some of that promise that we heard about early last spring. We heard him just really showing well in the spring of 2021. And, it was a little disappointing that he went to offensive line, but we knew we needed depth there. So it makes sense. I would love to see what it was on defensive line that he was starting to do that made him the talk of the team last year, around 16, 17 months ago. Who else on that defensive line improved, though? So if Jeffrey M'Ba is raw, we've got time, then cool. Let him simmer on the bench for a little bit. Let him work. Yeah. Let him get through these practices. And I don't think the physicality of the competition is going to be the biggest issue for M'Ba. I think it's going to be technique and skill set is really what it's going to be. When you're in JUCO, when you're his size and his strength, you can plow your way through the competition just off sheer physical ability. But at this level, you have to have that physical ability, that strength, that quickness, but you also have to be skilled with your hands and your feet. And that's probably what he's missing the most. But I think we got a good coaching staff that can give him those things. But it makes me wonder, okay, if it's not going to be him, did Marcus Harris improve at the same rate where everybody else improved? He wasn't a slouch for us. He's got some things to work on. His strength needed to improve. He's still in that room. Marquise Burks is still in that room. We got a lot of dudes who came back, and by all accounts, everybody is improving at an astronomical rate. The level of competition is high. If it's not Jeremiah Wright, at least I think we are all in agreement that we believe the best second defensive tackle is going to be there in a 4-3 alignment. And even though I don't know who it is, I'm excited because I think they're going to be better than last year.
Yeah. I think you'll see a more well-rounded group down there this year than last year. I mean, we had some dogs last year. This year, I just think they have a chance to be a little bit more balanced, and you're going to see a lot of guys contribute. When we talk to old heads like Ben Grubbs, the idea of changing positions, is part of the evaluation process that the staff has to make, right? Somebody told Ben Grubbs, hey, man, I know you play defense your whole life, but you'll make a lot of money in the NFL if you switch to O-line. He did it. He switched to guard and had a 9-year career in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it was a great decision for him. And those guys had to trust those evaluations. This staff is giving me those same kind of vibes. And we weren't seeing that before. Every time somebody changed positions before, it seems like it was a disaster. Right.
Yeah.
The only notable one I think would be I think Noah Igbenogany started at wide receiver and then changed to DB. That's one of the only ones I can think of that was a success story. But a lot of the other position changes just didn't work out. So I'm hoping this staff is better at that than the last staff.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's get to this. Thomas Jones, we appreciate your super sticker. And your question that you're asking us is maybe not top 10 defense, but definitely a top 20 defense this year. Guys, what are our thoughts? This could be a facts or not question, but what are you guys' thoughts about this year's defense and its potential?
Listen, shutouts.
There you go.
Yes,
there he goes.
Maybe not top 10. Yes, absolutely top 10. These guys have had that kind of. I think if we were a more well-rounded team, you could have seen a top 10 defense last year.
Yeah.
If they weren't losing, we weren't losing time of possession and putting up against the 8 ball all the time, you might have. This was a pretty good defense that just, they had holes in the pass game. But I think you're going to see that switch up. We're going to see a little bit more man this year. And fans were begging for it. So you're going to see whether that's a good idea or not. And I think there's a good chance that we see a dominant defense. I'm not really that worried about defense. Only thing that makes me concerned about defense is, can we shorten the game for them? Can we shorten the game for the defense with long drives and limit the amount of plays that they are on the field so they can shut teams down in the fourth quarter, so they can be dominant rather than back on their heels a la Iron Bowl,
right?
Struggling, to stop a Heisman winner after your offense did nothing for 3.5 quarters. So and those guys, I like what Derek Brown told us during his interview. He said, listen, man, we can't worry about what they're doing. It's like a fireman. When you get called, you just show up and put the fire out. That's it.
Yeah.
And I love that attitude, but the truth is they need some help. They need some help from the offense this year. I hope they get it.
Well, and again, the Georgia game showed us how this team is built to have to beat teams. Right. Georgia was able to move the ball on offense, and their defense stayed particularly fresh, and they were able to grind out the opposition on offense. That's what Auburn is building up a team to be able to do.
Yeah, it was a low-scoring game through 2.5 quarters, Caesar.
Absolutely. We were matched up, but it's just they got going on offense. We didn't, and our defense wore out first.
Yeah, that's it. That was it.
If we keep the offense going, the defense is still playing at a high level. So the potential is absolutely.
Yeah. That's
so
that whole game
is there.
Yeah. So I think we have a chance. It's going to depend on a lot. We have to stay healthy, and some of these JUCO guys that they brought in, I think, are going to have to step up. I hate talking about injuries at this point in the season, but it's just such a long season in the SEC, particularly on defense, and you just want to have a backup plan for your backup plan. I think that they have that. Keontae Scott is on campus now. I'm excited about that. Some of these guys, at Marquise Gilbert, he's another one of those JUCO newcomers. Number 1 safety, number 1 corner, number 1 overall JUCO player, all on defense, came in this year.
Right.
That could, if those guys pan out, that's a drastically looking defense from last year. It's different. You know what I mean? If all those guys end up being impact guys, combined with Owen Pappo, Derek Hall, Eku Leota, Marquise Burks, Kobe Wooden, that defense is ridiculous. Not to mention Nehemiah Pritchett, who is the fastest guy on the team, and Jalen Simpson, who is a hard hitter in the secondary. Come on, man. This team has a chance that if they can scheme it right and put them in the right positions, this defense has a chance to be dominant. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm keeping my eyes on for Zion Puckett as well. I'm definitely looking to see if he takes that next step as an enforcer back there.
And DJ James.
Yeah.
And DJ James. Yeah, come on, man.
For sure. Exclusive TV, he says, I played against him. I'm assuming he's talking about Jeremiah Wright. I played against him in high school. He is a beast. Again, we heard great things about him prior to the injury. I'm excited that he's back, and I'm eager to see him pick up where he left off for sure. We got a few more super chats, but let's get to the break real quick. Guys, do us a favor. Share this video on social media. Use the hashtag. Be sure to smash that like button, guys. And if you're new, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, guys, so that you are alerted when we go live. Let's take time to acknowledge the sponsors of the War Report.
This edition of the War Report is made possible by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to AuburnSports.com. Athletic Architects. For young athletes looking to secure their financial futures, let Athletic Architects help you start to build your financial house. Head over to buildthehouse.com. And our giveaway sponsor, GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. If you want the best in the business at restaurant logistics, check out our friends at GWT2Energy.com.
Hey, become a patron. We got lots of great things going on at the War Report. You definitely want to get in on this. We beat this over you guys' head because it's important. I do not want to hear complaints come season about why you don't have a green name and you can't chat. Some things are family only, especially during the season. So become a patron member, be part of our community. Part of that access that you get as a patron member is early access to interviews. Coy Moore, can't miss this, man. We're going to be putting out some lists here in a little bit. Coy Moore is going to be on it. Spoiler alert. This guy has a chance to be an impact player. He tells you why in an exclusive building report interview that we did with him. If you're a patron member, you already have access to this. So become a patron member. Hear a little bit about Coy. Guys, we're giving away a Lobtown t-shirt. Hashtag get your weight up. This is brought to you by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Our guy, Walt Taylor, in the comments, bringing you guys these giveaways every single live stream. So we're going to pull at the 1 hour mark. You got to be here to win. So don't miss your chance to win. We're on podcast, every single podcast platform. The War Report is there. Check out our podcast exclusive content, B Will's Bums, Mike Mack and Memes, some stuff that you can't get on YouTube. We put on podcasts. Subscribe, download, leave us a 5-star review so we can climb the podcast charts. We're partnered with the Lee County Humane Society to raise money for a good cause. So help us hashtag save all the puppies by going to the about section of our YouTube channel. Click that donate button. 50 cents on every dollar goes to them to help them hashtag save every single puppy. It's fall camp and it's hot out there. So Chill Boys is helping people stay cool.
Treat your boys. Chill Boys underwear is designed for maximum comfort with enough space to keep you cool, calm, and comfortable. Chill Boys underwear will help you keep the boys close, not too close. When the game is on the line, you won't break a sweat with Chill Boys underwear. Whether it's left boy, right boy, or both boys, Chill Boys provides your boys comfort like you never felt. Maximize your chill with Chill Boys.
Guys, I mentioned that Coy Moore interview. I want to go back to this. Coy sat down to talk with us. I want to play a little bit of that interview for you.
What is it about the state of Louisiana and the wide receiver position that just keeps how y'all busting them boys out like that down?
Down there, you got to be a dog. You know what I mean? So just have that dog mentality down there, and wherever we go, or wherever state we go and play college, we just take that with us.
Who have you made look the silliest this all season in one-on-ones?
Oh man, I can't expose my teammates like that, man.
Hey, listen, if they were on here, we would ask them, did they get you? So you might as well.
Okay. I know for a fact they can't say that. So oh man, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't. That's the least of my.
If you had to give us who's the deep threat going to be this year? If it's you, it's you. But like, which guy are we looking out for that can get behind the defense and take the top off?
That's everybody taking the top off. It's like the whole receiver room is running. You know what I mean? So like, that's kind of hard to really determine.
You feel like this system is preparing wide receivers for the NFL, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like, in my opinion, we should have 2 receivers with 1,000 yards at least. At least 2.
Okay, now
And you don't see that a lot at Auburn in the past year. And
you don't see one.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't see one. I'm telling y'all two.
Okay. 2,000-yard receivers. Definitely don't want to miss that interview. Big shout out to Chill Boys for sponsoring the War Report. We love them over there, helping keep the boys cool in the summer. I don't know about you guys, but it's hot up here in DC right now. Like, it's burning up. I've heard reports that it was 103 at practice yesterday at some point. Yeah, man, Coy Moore, guys. I'm excited. I'm excited about this room. Can you imagine like Coy Moore and Camden Brown out there and Malcolm Johnson and Shed and some of these kids that we have? If we get quarterback together, I think they're gonna have a chance to do something special.
You know, Pro Football Focus was not high on the wide receiver room when they previewed Auburn. I think this is a room that's very poised to surprise a lot of people this year.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the deal. But if you know how Pro Football Focus evaluates, that's because they're not high on quarterback at Auburn.
Right.
You can't be high on receivers if you're not high on quarterback. That's just the way it works. They can't throw the ball to themselves. And when you go back, I've said this before, and read Seth Williams and Anthony Schwartz draft evaluations, and it just said, hey, man, those guys' production suffered from a ton of inaccurate throws from the quarterback. It's really hard. It's hard to be high on wide receivers when you don't know if the guy throwing on the ball is going to give them a chance. So,
and that is something to your point. They mentioned they looked at Calzada, but they was concerned about his intermediate, passing, and so that was one of the reasons that they noted and cited as well. So, great point there.
I'm sure they weren't high on Joe Burrow either going into his Heisman season. Like, you don't see it until you see it. So they just got to go out there and show people.
Jonathan Harris with the super chat. We appreciate you, man. He says Wright was likely taking advantage of his size last spring and commanding double teams and holding the point of attack. Something Wooden and Harris is not built to do. We asked them to do more than they're equipped to do. Speaking of last year, right? There was a big loss. Again, they were really emphasizing the 3-4 last year, and Wright just seemed to be the perfect fit for that. And it tells me that I expect to see, even though we may see some different fronts this upcoming year, we definitely will see the 3-4, especially if Wright factors into the playing rotation for Auburn. So I do expect to see a little bit more of the 3-4. And I do agree, Jonathan. Wright will be the guy in the middle, plugging up the middle for that. Imani Smoot says, and I expect gymnastics and basketball to win. This is going to be a great year for Auburn athletics, huh? I want to see it too. I want to see it as well. We'll probably talk a little bit of basketball later on in the show. Let's talk a little bit before we get into the offensive line preview. Last thing I want to point out is Tavares Dawson actually got some looks at the starting slot position, and we talked about who was going to be who's going to be in the first 4 out, and I think a few of us mentioned Tavares Dawson, and Harsin and Keesaw spoke very highly of this kid. I think Keesaw mentioned that he was one of the most improved offensive guys going into the year. Seeing that, our thoughts about Tavares Dawson and the potential he has to be a potential deep threat, or just that guy that they use in the slot as a guy to kind of just knife through the defense. Thoughts on him?
We haven't had a really good slot guy since Ryan Davis, and even then, I was really surprised when he didn't stick in the NFL, because I thought he was just built with his speed, with his relatively short hands, especially at 2017 season. He was just a sure thing, him and Stidham, and that was the last time I remember us having a guy like, yes, this is our dude to make the game easier for the quarterback. I mean, that's what the slot does, man. You shake people more easily. If you can get one of their DBs down onto the line, then you should open up things behind them. And it should make the game easier for the quarterback, easier for the defense to be read when you've got a slot guy that has to be respected. So if you're telling me this guy is as fast as we already heard and saw that he was, because last year he got behind the defense. I mean, we remember the Houston game. Definitely got behind the defense, and we didn't get on the ball. But please, God, let all of these I am hearings turn into phenomenal play from these players. And the reason I'm believing it, or I am prone to believe it, is because the guys who are here were the same guys as last year.
Right.
So they're seeing the difference in a guy, just like we asked, what Derek Hall was asked his opinion on the offensive line. And he said, oh, no, it's different. You know, who was playing the offensive line 2 years ago and again now, and 2 years later in summer practice, Derek Hall was. So who would be in a better position to tell you whether or not they've improved than the guy who played them then and the guy who's playing them now? So I'm thinking the same thing about Tavares Dawson, about Shed, about everything that's going on with everything that's going on with these players and their improvement, whether it's speed, whether it's shiftiness, whether it's knowing the offense, whether it's their hands improving. Yes, please let Tavares Dawson get on the field and be the guy that is. His name is the first person out of people's mouths when they talk about the wide receiver room. Just please, if Coy Moore is to be believed, please let it be like that. If Camden Brown is going to be the guy who can moss dudes and stiff arm somebody into hell, I think the most serious stiff arm I remember was Sammy Coates when he stiff armed that dude at Texas A&M that year we went to the Natty. It was the most egregious stiff arm I've seen from a wide receiver in college probably ever. I mean, we've seen Derrick Henry we've seen Marshawn Lynch throw dudes. The stiff arm Sammy Coates gave this man, it should have put this man out the game, and not because he was hurt either, just like pride. Like he will not be returning. Pride. He'll be examined after the game. I want Camden Brown to be that type of dude. I want these physical specimens, whether it's speed or shiftiness or strength, to get on the field and make us if we're not an elite offense, a lot closer to being an elite offense for the first time in a long time, because it's been a while since we were able to put our offense on the field and say, I know what's going to happen. It's been 5 years now, 2017. And that took about 4 or 5 games before we got to that point. I would love to see us out the gate with guys knowing who they are, the coaches knowing and understanding what to do with them, and having a quarterback that can get these people the ball. I would love to see it. And I hope Tavares Dawson is part of that.
Indeed. Listen, let's move on to the next pretty much segment of the show. Let's preview the offensive line. We kind of hinted at it on the last live when we were asked what position group. Let's talk about the offensive line. And we got a graphic that kind of shows who's returning, who are the new additions, and who has departed since last year. So here they are. And we see the guys on the left. Here's who we have coming back: Jalil Irvin, Nick Brahms, Tate Johnson, Brennan Coffey, Avery Jernigan, Keandre Jones, Cameron Stutz, Court Bradley, Alec Jackson, Austin Troxell, Colby Smith, Brandon Council, Thomas Kirkham, Garner Langlow, and Killian Zaire. The new additions, E.J. Harris and Evan Richards, and of course, Brodarius Ham declared for the draft. I think he ended up signing with the USFL team when it was all said and done. David Shannon graduated, and Tayshawn Manning transferred to Kentucky. On this past weekend, when fall camp started, I believe it was a consistent lineup of the first team consisted of Killian Zaire at left tackle, Cameron Stutz at left guard, Nick Brahms at center, Keandre Jones at right guard, and Austin Troxell actually has moved over to right tackle. Our thoughts on this position group. One of the things that Harsin mentioned was basically getting these guys beefed up with strength and conditioning. And they've been able to do that. Now they want to see some consistency with this position group. They saw flashes of it last year, but they want to see a lot more consistency out of this line. You've had guys like Keandre Jones, I believe, say that this position group is poised to take a step forward. Mike, I want to hear from you, man. Your thoughts about this position group going into fall camp.
Strength and conditioning. This is year 2 of the Pittman Get Your Weight Up program for the offensive line. Run blocking being the chief concern for this group because they were average in pass blocking, but they couldn't move anybody in the run game. They just weren't built to do that. That's not what Gus had them made to do. So, I've said it before, it takes more than one offseason to change your body enough to play the type of ball that Brian Harsin wanted to play with these guys. And year 2, we're hearing about them all setting records in the weight room, man. So they're going to be doing something a little different in the run game. Our running backs need it, man. Listen, Tank decided to stay with us. Jarquez is back there. It's going to be really hard for these guys to get any traction if these guys cannot move the man in front of them. We've got to find a way to dominate the offensive line in the run game. I think this is a good group. This is a veteran group. This is this is one of the most veteran groups in the SEC. I thought they got a little bit of a bad rap last year for the QB's problems, not rightfully so. But a lot of what we saw on offensive line was symptomatic of the overall change that was needed on offense anyway. So it all, I think they're going to come along nice this offseason. If they can pass block at just a 3% better rate than they were last year, we're going to be in real good shape. And if they can improve, they have significant movement that they need to make in run blocking, but I think it can be done because I think they're going to be more physically prepared to do that so that we can control the clock and help the defense out like we talked about earlier in the show. There's going to be a big part of Auburn's success this season is sometimes your best defense is a good offense, and you keep the other teams, you keep your Bryce Youngs off the field. Limit his possessions by running the ball. Your line has to dominate for you to be able to do that. So looking forward. Nick Brahms has got to take the step forward this year, guys. He's got to take the step forward. This is one of the most senior guys on this team. He's in his 4th year. He's got to dominate. This is a guy who has to go out and has to be a leader. He has to be the quarterback on that offensive line or the second quarterback of the offense on the field. He's got to make sure protections are good. He's got to make sure that guys are where they need to be, and he has got to be the leader up front. No excuses this year, man. It is time for Nick Brahms to get it done. I think that he can do it. Now, beside him, you're looking at guys like Keandre Jones and Killian Zaire got in and spelled Troxel at points last year. So I think he got some much needed experience. But this is a group that has a chance to do something that nobody expects them to do, certainly. I really think this is a group that has a chance to do something that people are just not expecting they're going to be able to do. So we'll see if they can go out and do it.
B. Will, I'll ask you this question. As a matter of fact, you know what? Ike has crept in here. You didn't see him. The graphic was up. That was on purpose. Ike, Cameron Stutz is listed as a starter at left guard. And if you'd ask me personally who I would expect it to kind of fill that position, and I know this guy has been kind of playing different positions since he's been here in Auburn, but I thought that was surprising that he got the start over Brandon Council. And that looks like that's potentially shaping up to be an interesting position to look at moving forward. And I see Blake Robinson saying that Cam Stutz actually got the best of Mba, as he should, seeing as though Mba is new and raw. But your thoughts at the left guard position, and even Cameron Stutz was someone that Coach Harsin pretty much mentioned by name when he addressed the media on Thursday. But your thoughts on the left guard position?
So here's the thing with that position in particular. Brandon Council has had injury issues pretty much his entire career, not just at Auburn, but predating Auburn when he was at Akron. He's had injury issues. So it's good that someone else is stepping up to be able to play that at that spot. Cameron Stutz has been here for a while, right? So it's not his first rodeo, right? He's been in this program for, the same amount, well, actually probably longer than Council has been. But I think it's a good position to be in if Stutz is taking the lead, because that means you have an experienced guy that can back him up.
Right.
So I like the fact that someone else is able to step into that position and garner some snaps early. And here's the thing, I hadn't been on and I don't really know where the conversation has gone around anything involving fall camp yet. It's still super early. None of this stuff is in cement, right? Like, it's how many snaps people are getting and when they're getting those snaps and who they're taking those snaps with is all inconsequential this early in camp. So there's a lot of time for people to move up, move down, move around to different spots on the offensive line. Same thing with any of the other position groups. So I'm looking forward to that, but I do love the fact that we have, at least if Stutz is taking the first team spot, then we know we have experience behind him, and I love that.
I believe someone asked how many of these guys were seniors. I have counted a total of 8 on the left-hand side. So we need some bodies after this season to bring in to replace some of these guys. And some of these guys are all using their COVID year as well. So
right. Yeah. I think 5 or 6 of these guys are out of eligibility after this year. So it doesn't really matter how well they play. They're not coming back or can't come back. So it's either go to the league or get a job. That's what your option is after this.
Either way, he gone after this year. One thing I want to point out is Pro Football Focus recently named Killian Zaire, who was the former number 3 JUCO offensive tackle recruit in 2020, as Auburn's breakout player this year. And to read a little something on him, they basically said that he was really good. And so this is something that Ike pointed out last year, that he graded pretty well, pretty decently in pass block, but didn't do pretty well in the run block. He didn't grade pretty well there. These are things that Ike even pointed out when he was watching film. They mentioned that there were technical issues all over Zaire's game in both facets in that limited time that he did get to play, but he did have the flashes, and there's no denying the tools he possesses. He checks the length, frame, and athleticism boxes with ease. He's only scratched the surface and has the capability of anchoring Auburn's offensive line in 2022. He's listed as the breakout player for Auburn this upcoming year at offensive tackle. Thoughts on that, guys? I'll start with you, B. Will.
I mean, well, we hope so, right? I mean, that's what we're here for. The game he started over Troxel was Arkansas, and that was our best offensive game that we played. Arkansas defense had something to do with that because their defense was injured at that point. They weren't great, but there did seem to be a difference in pass protection when he was in the game. Now, it didn't hold up for the rest of the season because, of course, we still got embarrassed at several other times later in the season when he was in the game. But something about offensive line play is we kind of write off certain players when they don't show well initially, and then we kind of forget about them. I think offensive line is the one position that is most immune from that, where that we shouldn't erase, or we shouldn't just take, here's what I saw when you first got in there, that's all you're going to be done. I am that way about quarterback. Absolutely. If I give you 2 years, that's it. I don't want to see no more from you. I don't care who you are, which is why I'm so off the boat on Spencer Rattler. You can't, again, you redshirt 1 year, you play a whole year, and then your 3rd year, you're losing your job. That means you're not it. And maybe even some running backs. It's pretty easy to tell once a guy gets on the field, is he that dude or not? It's not that you can't improve in certain ways, but we had a bit of a pattern here at Auburn and in a lot of places too. If you aren't recruiting outlandish, otherworldly talent, then what you're going to see is there's this cycle of like 3 years, you're good. You have to recover, you're down another year, and every 3 to 4 years, you're good. And that's because these staples at these positions like offensive line, number one, they play with each other. So there's a rapport there that other positions may not have with so many guys moving around and other things like that. But offensive linemen are probably the least likely to leave early. They stay longer. They're going to play with the same group more often than not. And their strength will improve year after year after year. And it's not that other positions can't do this. It's that it's this combination of understanding what we're supposed to be doing, understanding what the guy next to me is going to do, and physically getting stronger and more mature while that's happening. And every 3 to 4 years, all those factors come together at the same time, which is why we usually had a great offensive line every 3 or 4 years, even if the offensive line didn't start great the year before. Like I'm thinking about 2010, right? Everybody was like, oh man, Cam Newton's not coming back. As a business decision, Cam Newton should not have come back here. That line was gone, buddy. That was a senior laden line. And it's not like maybe one of those guys ended up on the NFL roster. I'm not sure, but it wasn't these are the best offensive linemen ever. They were mature and they had played together and they had physically matured together. And that culminated in a line that was good enough to let Cam Newton be Cam Newton. And it worked. But you can do that with an offensive line. These guys had, unfortunately, played under a system that I don't think allowed them to actually improve. I don't think the system was about improving you physically for the NFL, which is why we had so few offensive linemen actually make the jump from here to the NFL running Gus's offense. It's not about you being strong enough to match up next level. It's really about you just, let's do the sugar huddle. You got it, right?
Right.
Yeah, we ain't sugar huddling in the NFL, but we moving bodies, and we couldn't do that here. So for once, these guys, in my mind, they've had 1 year of development since they've been at Auburn. They've been at Auburn for 5 years. They've had 1 year of development, and that was last
and
year.
they'll tell you that themselves about how little they knew about actually playing that burns me up every time I think about it. How little some of these wide receivers, how little the offensive line knew about actually playing the position at a high level. And they've been here 2 and 3 years prior to Brian Harsin and his staff getting a hold of them. That's just just silly to me.
To B's point about the line, a lot. It shocks me how many people don't remember this, but that line leaving is why we didn't get Russell Wilson.
Right.
He looked at us and he looked at Wisconsin. He was like, "What's the cheese like in Wisconsin? You can find some good eats up there, right?" He was not coming to Auburn to play behind a brand new line when he had only 1 year to play.
Right.
So he went somewhere where he had a chance to be good, no matter what the skill positions looked like, because the line was more senior laden there, and we were starting all over. So yeah, I mean, you're right. It's got a lot to do with a lot.
And there's also a really good reason why 2013 we were kind of ready to go as an offensive line. Jay Prosh coming in from Illinois was a huge factor.
Oh, he was a monster.
Phenomenal. But
sure,
we also had who was a redshirt sophomore in Greg Robinson. So that was a 3-year gap between him and the guy who was before him. I think at guard we had a couple of really good guards. Was Kozan a guard on that team? He was younger though. Either way, it culminated. It's a 3-year cycle. 2010. Yeah. 2013, and from there we just kind of been patchworking it.
Oh, that's a good point.
Ever since then. And so if you're telling me that guys who've gotten 1 solid year of actual development are now physically ready, and that's another thing about being a super senior, man. You can sign up for I can be here and be in school taking any type of grad school course. I'm only gonna be here 1 year regardless. I don't have to take no serious school classes. I'm gonna be in the gym. I'm gonna know exactly what's expected of me this year. And you know what? Everybody seems to kind of have this same, I don't want to say revenge tour thing going, but if they chose to stay here with everything that was going on in the background, it seems like, especially for Nick Brahms to be one of the people that spoke up and spoke out while it was going on, they feel a connection to Harsin and they want to play well for him, for themselves, because they heard every arrow that came their way as a way to alleviate Bo Nix of the blame of his play was just every arrow and every stone was just hurled at the offensive line. You don't think they heard that? Why? Just because you don't see them tweeting out pictures and on Instagram, you don't think they got social media? You don't think they see y'all fans blaming them for everything that goes wrong here? We blame the wide receivers. We blame the offensive line. You know what? It seems like the wide receivers and the offensive line have been determined to say, y'all ain't gonna blame me this year. So I'm glad to see that. And I'm hoping that the physical improvement in the offensive line by not only Derek Hall giving us his account, Coach Harsin is telling us, yeah, now I see an improvement. I've coached football for 20, however, some odd years. And he's saying this is a lot closer to what I want our offensive line to be able to do. Improvement from these guys individually and collectively. Yes. I'm excited about offensive line this year.
Yeah.
You mentioned like how good the offensive line. I credit a lot of that to Jeff Grimes, who was the O-line coach, who was a pretty good recruiter, who is now offensive coordinator at Baylor. He had a lot to do with that as well, B. Okay. So that's how you saw the turnover with the offensive line. You mentioned Nick Brahms. Nick Brahms has been added to, and I saw this quote here from Lawrence Robinson. Appreciate you watching, man. Brahms has gotten better every season. If he improves, he'll be playing on Sundays. He was horrible up until 2021. Something of note, Brahms has been added to the Remington watch list. He was added last year, I think, as well.
Yeah, he was.
So this is someone that if this O-line is going to take the next step forward, you got to talk about Nick Brahms.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that, Ike?
I mean, he definitely improved his play last year. If you look at his 2020 tape.
Oh yeah, it was rough.
Yeah,
we talked
I
about
I had a rough time not coming up with nicknames for Nick Brahms.
what did King say when we went over the field with him? He was like, man, he got to find some.
He got to find some work. He said,
some ribs.
Yeah, man. He was caught on a lot of plays that we were watching, just looking at people. I understand you got a space that you're supposed to be occupying in case somebody comes through that gap, but once you see that nobody's doing some kind of crazy stunt, go double teams, do something, man. Get in, and plays are happening around you and you haven't touched anybody. Or when you did try to go do something, you were anticipating in the wrong direction and somebody shooting the gap over your left shoulder because you were looking right. Like, it was just bad. 2021 didn't see that as often, but the issue for this offensive line, and one of the things that your center really is going to be responsible for a lot, is figuring out how to get better at the point of attack on the things that are between the tackles, right? Like, you've got to figure out how to get to whoever is over the nose or, lined up just to either side of you, double team, and then get to that next level to a linebacker. And we weren't seeing a lot of that last year. We were seeing a lot of stalemates. So hopefully the improved strength and conditioning that we've had. And I saw a comment here.
Yeah, I saw it. Are we sure that it's better?
Yeah. I don't know where it went. Somebody asked, are we sure that the strength and conditioning is better? So here's the thing. It's not really more about better or worse for me. I will say, yes, it's a better situation just overall as far as preparation for the next level. But it definitely, what was happening before wasn't getting guys ready to play the likes of a Georgia and Alabama in the trenches. You weren't moving those kids at all. And if you're going to go through the SEC rigors and you want to have a downhill rushing attack, not one that's based, and this is going to sound like I'm taking a shot at the previous coach, and I'm not one that's based off of misdirection. And, if you want thin kids or smaller guys who can run fast and they can do a lot of pulling stuff and you're doing that kind of thing, that's going to be good. But at the next level, when you go to the NFL, they're going to expect you to be big and nimble. So if you're just out here being nimble and you can't move anybody, you're not going to play at the next level. They don't want nobody who can't. What B. Will said, we move in bodies. They're not out here trying to see if you can outrun a defensive tackle to the edge.
Right.
They want to make you want to put that defensive tackle on his back so the running back beats him to the edge. That's how they play ball at the next level. And even if you're nimble, those big guys who are, look at what's my man's name? Trent Williams that plays for the 49ers.
Yeah,
that dude is enormous, but he moves. And he moves people when he gets them in front of him. That's what they're looking for. Prototypical is big and fast, not just fast.
Right.
You know what image comes to mind when you're describing that? The image I had in my head was you can picture like a small but quick little karate guy up against somebody big and huge like Debo, and he's jumping around, and Debo's just kind of looking at him, and he hits him here and he hits him there, and then all Debo has to do is connect on one. That's it, because you're weak and you're small. And that's what it was for our line last year. It was like, okay, they were built, the misdirection, the tricks. Right. When you can't trick anybody, you're going to lose based on how they were built, right? Like, this is what I need people to understand about why it's better is because if you can move somebody, you can move somebody. It doesn't matter what the system is. If I'm stronger than you and faster than you, I'm stronger and faster than you.
Right.
But you put all your eggs in the misdirection basket. And these guys just did not have the physical tools to play the game differently when they had to.
Well, the thing is, too, and this is, again, I know it sounds like we're piling on, but it's why people refer to the previous offense as a high school offense, because it was built on a lot of things that would work in high school. Yeah, but at the next level in the SEC, you've been in the SEC 8 years. We know we have a better idea of the misdirection now.
If you haven't innovated this offense much at all, people start to be like, "Oh, okay, well, he's just running the same thing again." Like, you tricked me the first couple of times, and it worked better when you could substitute and they wouldn't, stop and play and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, all of that stuff works better in those scenarios. And I'm not saying it wouldn't work some of the time. That's the reason why the previous coach could win 8 games a season, because you're playing lower tier people, like people who don't have the same level of talent as you. You can win some of those games, but then when you get into those tough ones, you might sneak them every now and then, and it's going to take a lot of prayers and miracles to make it happen. But you're not going out and physically dominating the good competition ever. It never happened. The only game, and people want to point to 2017's Georgia game as physical domination. If you go back and watch that game, we got lucky a lot. Georgia effed up a whole bunch in that game, and we took advantage of them screwing up. And we did a good job of doing what we needed to do in that Georgia game. But again, I saw it one time already. You're not finna trick me with the same thing again. Get back to the SEC championship. Georgia and company was like, yeah, we saw that trick last time.
Right.
It's not working this time.
Yeah, for sure. And as we close out talking about this group, guys, Harsin mentioned he wanted to see consistency. And in this league, you're going to lose some battles because you're going to have some great defensive lines, great defenses that you're matched up with. What's the consistency that we need to see with this group in order to be successful offensively?
I think it's got to be in run blocking, man. At the end of the 100% day, man,
it's going to be.
It's going to be a run blocking. They just have to be able to move guys. They need to be able to allow Tank to not have to dodge guys in the backfield just to get back to the line of scrimmage. And then you get him to the second level, get your running back to the second level, and then watch great running backs go wild. We have to find a way to get Tank to the second level easier than we did last year. It was just too hard because I like Tank on any linebacker.
Yeah, Tank in the open field versus whoever.
Right.
Secondary linebacker.
But if you get him hemmed up on the line and then the linebackers have time to come in and help, he's going to have a really rough season, man. And same for Jarquez as well, too, man. These guys are strong, but they can only do so much against 8-man boxes. So, it's going to be about run blocking well enough, but also about balance on offense as well, too. They need to take steps forward in pass protection. I'm not letting off the hook there either. They have to take steps forward in both disciplines for this offense to move forward, or we need our quarterback to be all world.
Right.
I'm not sure we have that.
Right.
So we need more balance from the offensive line so that our quarterbacks can, everybody can play a role and we can win it as a team. Bryce Young went out and won a Heisman by himself last year. I'll die on that hill. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, he had no run game to speak of. His offensive line was not particularly good at pass blocking, and he still put up ridiculous amounts of numbers, doing what everyone says Auburn's quarterback was doing, which was running for his life.
Yeah. So, I don't think we don't have a generational talent at quarterback, not yet. I don't know, man. I'm still high on Robbie Ashford. I just don't know if this year is his year.
If Robbie Ashford gets the little things down of playing the quarterback position to pair with the physical tools, he is going to be amazing.
Yeah,
he's going to be amazing.
He has that sort of athletic ability to be able to do that. But if he can combine that with accuracy and to be able to throw on the run, he's going to be a problem for a lot of people. Marquise Burks told us during his interview, he said chasing around Robbie in practice is a problem for the defense. He was like, he's a problem. Again, I don't think that he's primed to start the season, though. So it's going to be one of these other two guys that are not as mobile. They got to give them the requisite amount of time to throw the ball and to let the run game develop for the running backs, right? So that they can see the holes develop and then hit the hole rather than having to dodge a guy in the backfield. And if you go back and look at the tape, that's a lot of what Tank was up against last year.
Right.
Yeah. Indeed. Good talk, guys. And we definitely want to hear from you watching live as well as on replay, your thoughts about this offensive line. What does consistency look like in year 2? What does improvement look like in year 2 for this unit? Again, good conversation, guys. It's time to give away something. What we're giving away? Lobtown in honor of Auburn basketball today.
Who won,
sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Drop the hashtag, get your weight up, guys, to enter to win. We don't wait anymore for you guys. If you want it, you should already be in here. Mike G is ready to draw.
Yeah, only 31. Come on, man.
Well,
what the heck? 31? There's 300 of y'all in here, but we're gonna roll it. Let's see who's gonna win today. Which one of the lucky 31. Oh,
Jazzy!
No way.
Yeah.
I'm more than certain he's going to throw this back. Jazzy,
Yeah,
in the
I
chat.
think that's a safe assumption.
Yeah, text us. Do you want this or do you want us to draw again? Yeah,
That's
wow.
hilarious. That is hilarious.
Jonathan Harris is
are you-
nah, bro. Come on.
Are you at the Grand Canyon in that profile pic? That looks like the Grand Canyon. Jazzy, hit us up any way you want.
Thomas Sanders said it's fixed.
The fixes, yeah.
I know that's tough to.
This
tough
is
to
actually
sell.
one of the things Jazzy doesn't have, though. So he might want it. I don't know.
Yeah, you might want it. Let's see. Who am I? It is. Okay, so do you want it or do you not want it?
He's saying it's the Grand Canyon.
Oh, it is the Grand Canyon. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. But what we doing, Jazzy? We throwing this back or what?
And while we wait on him to respond, some of you guys may need a gummy because you feeling tight over the fact that Jazzy won. Shout out to Rogue Shop.
This episode of The War Report is brought to you in part by Rogue Shop. Looking to reduce stress or improve your quality of sleep? Rogue Shop has you covered with a wide range of premium products, including gummies, bath salts, and oils. Go to rogueshop.com and use code Rapport when you check out. That way, they know we sent you. All right?
Hey, Jazzy.
Jazzy says
He
throw
said
it
throw
back.
it back. He said throw it back. Oh, and you know what? We got 50 people in here now, so you guys woke up after that happened. So I'm gonna give it 2 more seconds, and then I'm gonna be a little bit nicer than Ike. Ike be like, man, the hell with y'all, we're rolling.
No, I'd be like, we got stuff to do. Let's keep it moving.
All right, so roll it. We got the 50. Watch it land on Jazzy again. This has happened. We have had 2 in a row. The Mario Nettles.
Mario,
Our guy,
Mario,
DeMario.
are you here, sir?
Yeah,
Let us
tell us.
know.
Let us know, bro.
We'll keep watching. Do we want to talk real quick about basketball? Keep it brief. I know we've had a few. We can go over a few of these in the comments.
Does anybody have the box score? Who
They
hit
haven't
the
said it
most
out yet.
threes?
They haven't said it out yet.
Okay, I don't know, like, because we had a whole thing last time about who's supposed to hit the most 3-point
Yeah.
per game.
Yeah.
You know, we had a challenge from our guy Jazzy.
Chance Westry looks ridiculous right
Man,
now.
I had
Yeah,
to
man.
Oh my
see it.
God.
I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it. Listen, before we do that, let's do this real quick. Let's do this real quick and honor the person who initially won the drawing. Let's get to his challenge.
Aw, yeah. Welcome to another Jazzy Challenge.
Okay, wait. We're gonna do this a little differently today. This Jazzy challenge.
What are we doing differently, Mike?
G?
This is funny. This is funny. What I think you about to do.
All right. Talk about this for a second because I'm trying to picture what states touch what states, and I just feel like we need to be able to look at a map.
You're
Yeah.
getting strategic now. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Now, where was he last time?
He was in.
He was on his way to Missouri, so he
yeah,
was
but
in.
he was in Arkansas, right?
Arkansas, yeah, Arkansas.
He was in Arkansas. All right, we got Arkansas right here.
But he said he was headed back to the home base then. That was on Wednesday. He was in
Wednesday.
Arkansas. He would have been back at the home base either Wednesday night,
On 4
Thursday.
days, he could be anywhere.
Yeah. And so the question is, once
Go
he picked up
west.
his load at the home base, where was he headed to next?
I'm gonna go west. I'm gonna say Arizona.
Way out
Okay,
here. You think he
all
went
right.
all the way back out there to take a profile pic at the Grand Canyon? Okay.
All right. So the question is, do we want to cover something out west, or do we want to?
Do we want to surround the area like we did?
Yeah.
I'm dying. Listen, if you're not old enough to get this reference, you're
I
missing
love
out.
it. I love it. I love it.
I am going to go further west. I'm going to say Oregon.
Oregon? Ooh, he's way up here. Okay, all right.
All
Pete,
right.
What you got?
You know what? What's crazy is I don't like super investigate Jazzy's Twitter account, and I probably should.
Almost never, actually.
I mean, it would kind of ruin the fun.
Yeah.
But now I wish I had. All right.
Yeah, I prefer to just guess than try to sleuth it out.
I'm gonna go Midwest. Do we have any solid intel that says he went west for some reason?
No.
He's gotten smart.
He could have gone
really
the
am
exact
guessing.
opposite direction, and he could be up
And
in New England
keep in
somewhere.
mind, he says a bonus 100 if you can guess the city.
Oh, okay.
Oh man,
Notice he didn't say state, right? He said city. He said
he
guess
said
my
state,
location.
but he said bonus if you can guess the city. So like if you
Okay.
so like if C is saying Arizona and he's like Flagstaff, Arizona. In fact,
there's only a couple places in Arizona you could actually be.
Well,
Tucson, Phoenix.
he was in Yuma last time he was in Arizona. So.
Wait. So he says,
I'm gonna go.
where am I? Because see, he gave us Canada, right? And he also gave us Mexico City. He did not specifically say state right here. He might not be in the U.S., but he might be in a city that we know.
Okay, cool.
Man,
what's your guess,
bro?
Yeah, I know.
All right,
that makes it easier to guess, B.
So I have no idea.
He could be anywhere in the world.
He said city. It's a lot of cities in the world.
No, what if he meant town?
By city, he meant he was in city gear.
Tucson,
Ohio, right?
I'm gonna go Tucson, Mike.
Ohio.
He went back to the
Tucson?
past, and
All
he's in Circuit City. He's trying to trick your mind.
Tucson, Arizona. All right.
City, Circuit City.
Is
there still a Circuit City?
No, that's why I say he went to the past. He hopped in his time
Oh,
machine.
he's out in the time machine. I got
Best
you.
Buy killed him.
I throw us a city just for shits and giggles because we get an extra 100 if you just happen to hit it.
Oh, and Oregon will go with I don't even know any cities.
You got like
Oregon.
Salem, you got Eugene, Portland.
I'll go. I ain't going to Eugene because why would you go there?
There's some place called Hood River.
Man, I want to guess that just because. Portland. We'll go with the big city, Portland.
Okay, all right. So Tucson, Portland.
I'm gonna say Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio. Okay.
Yeah, he's probably in Auburn, Alabama right now.
I think personally, because he was in Arkansas, he went to Missouri, and we're guessing which way he went. I think he pulled an okey doke. I think he's still in Missouri getting a new decal.
I actually thought about that. So yeah,
put in a truck. So I'm gonna go with let's see here. Missouri is just kind of a terrible place.
St. Louis, Missouri.
I'm gonna go with Springfield, Missouri. He's in Springfield.
All right, there we go.
He's in Springfield.
All right. I like that. And the second challenge, guys, who gets more steals tomorrow?
Chance Westry. Because the dude is a defensive beast.
Westry.
I think Zepp's gonna get more.
I was thinking Zepp.
I think so.
So we got two. We're split. We're split on this. Zepp or Chance.
Nah, Zepp doesn't really do a lot. He doesn't get a lot of steals. He's not a passing lane guy. He's not a strip the ball guy. He's a great defender, but he doesn't get a lot of steals. Chance Westry is all of that. I'm sticking firm with Chance on this one.
Sticking with Chance.
We can go
Still feel strong.
We can go Chance.
I'm cool. I'm cool with Chance. I'm cool with that.
Why
I'm cool
not?
with that. All right.
Bro, what? Hold up. What does
Yeah,
that mean?
That means somebody nailed the city. I think
Springfield for the win.
I was about to say I think Springfield, Missouri locked it in, man.
He's still there taking a poop at a truck stop. I bet.
Oh crap!
Yeah,
Okay, do we get extra 50? We get what he's doing.
I hadn't been looking for the dude who won the thing. I've been so busy trying to talk about this.
Oh yeah.
Who was it?
John DeMario. Is it DeMario, right? Nettles.
Yeah. I'll scroll back up. Go ahead. Y'all keep talking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through some of the because this talks about basketball.
He's here. DeMario's here. Go
ahead.
Okay.
DeMario. Yes.
Cool. Let's go ahead and do this real quick. Business at the War Rapport. Email us your physical address. He may have won something before, but email us your physical address and shirt size. Congratulations. Let's get back to some of the questions or the comments. Dylan Reed says Broom is going to be a beast. Down low, has way better touch around the basket than Kessler. Mike is
he's celebrating because Mike G killed it at the main terminal in Springfield.
He tried to pull the okie doke on y'all. I told you he was in Missouri. What? Come on. I'm buying a lottery ticket right now. I'll be back.
He probably lose that one, but good luck. And he did go back.
Hey, didn't they already win the Mega Millions, man? That over.
Yeah.
Man,
Mike
you
G
bought
is
it too late, Mike. You bought it too late.
Thoughts about? I haven't had a chance to see any of the game.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have, but
I
people
will
are
agree with
loving
the second
Broom.
half of this statement, though. Better touch around the basket.
Mhm.
You know,
He hit a
Walker
hook
Kessler.
Mhm.
Walker Kessler was raw offensively and got better as the season went along. Broom is already like, if you watched him play at all last year, then you know he has a good offensive game. He's got a soft touch on his mid range. He finishes well around the basket. Like he's more put together offensively than Walker Kessler was. The difference between the two is Walker Kessler's probably a little faster, right? He's slimmer, faster. Probably a better shot blocker just because of his arm length.
Yeah.
Like he just, he jumps. Kessler jumps a little bit higher. But Broom has really good timing. He knows how to do body positioning really well. Again, he finishes well around the basket. He is, to me, a more complete basketball player right now than Walker Kessler was to start the season last year. Yeah, I like Janai Broom. I like his game, man. Definitely looking forward to what he's going to do in this offense. To me, the key to how well Broom is going to play is how well he is, or excuse me, scoring wise, how well he's going to be able to stay out of foul trouble, get offensive points, and then lastly, because I don't think he needs to touch the ball consistently to stay engaged in games, how well or how much better we're going to do with post entry. We were terrible at post entry passes last year. If they can get him the ball in the post and he can go to work, he's going to do really well.
Yeah. He got a rebound in this game, back to the basket, and just hit him with a little shoulder thing. And I mean, nice to the point, just nice touch, nothing but net. About 5-6 feet from the basket. It was really good look. I'm looking forward to seeing what he could do on the court. He's got really good touch around the hoop.
All right, guys, let's move to football with this question. James Burnett asked, fellas, if we had a game today based off a couple of days of practice, which QB are you sending out?
That's tough. I haven't watched a lot of practice stuff to be able to say definitively. Again, I wasn't here earlier. And I know people are going to be upset when they hear me say this, and I've been saying this. If we were playing a game right now, I still think TJ Finley is the starter. Based on the history, there's a couple of things that make this make so much sense, despite what people think about who's the better player. I need y'all to erase who you think the better player is out of your brain and think about the fact that there is credence to having more experience in the offense and with the players, right? Like you understand the offense better and you have worked with the personnel more and you've got cupcakes to start the season. So you don't have to start game one with the guy who you think is going to be the eventual starter. There's no rush to throw them out there when you should physically dominate a team and get plenty of time to look at that guy. It's not like the other team is going to take their starters out early just because you hung 21 up on them in the first quarter. Put a bunch of points up, then put the other guy in there. That I still think the guy, if we were doing it right now, the person who's trotting out there first is TJ Finley.
Right.
Yeah, right. I would have to agree with that. I mean, you're talking about a lot of things. You're talking about system. You're talking about knowledge of what this coaching staff is trying to do. I really like Zach Calzada. I think he's supremely talented, but he also had some catching up to do in terms of the time that he missed in the spring.
Right. Had Calzada been here in the spring, I might have
a different conversation. Right. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we have to start to believe that players can get significantly better in the offseason. A lot of people think, hey, what I've seen is what we've seen is what you're going to be. There are just way too many examples of that not being the case in college football with guys who maybe didn't win the job initially. The guy who won the national championship at quarterback last year didn't win the job in the fall camp. The national championship winning quarterback did not win the job in fall camp, but they had a guy who they felt like they could turn to, and it culminated in a national title. Who knows what their season would have been if they had left JT Daniels in there. So I just think, we just have to, but I believe this, let's believe in the staff and the development plan over the players, even that they know what they're doing with these guys, so that whoever they put out there, we can have confidence that they're going to get the job done.
And here's and my last point on the whole TJ Finley thing, and I know it sounds like I'm caping for TJ Finley, and I'm not. He still has yet to start enough games to be the equivalent of a full season in college football.
Right.
He doesn't have enough starts to have been a player for an entire season.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of what you feel like you've seen from him already, he still has a lot of development that he can do. He hasn't been. This is his first time that he was at spring camp at Auburn this year.
Right. Yeah, this is his third year, but this is only, well, I guess technically it's his third camp. I don't know if he made the first camp at LSU.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
But he won the backup job, his freshman year there.
Yeah,
So
he was at camp. He was definitely at camp.
There's a lot of development left for TJ Finley to do, regardless of how many years he's been in college.
Yeah.
And I just can't, again, I can't get with anybody who feels like year 3 of the previous starter was going to be some Herculean leap, but what is essentially year 2 for this starter can't
Not
be.
even.
Right. Like, again, but I'm saying essentially the second year of him playing college football, as far as number of starts, he can't make up ground. Again,
Right.
I'm not predicting Heisman trophies for TJ Finley if he's the starter. I'm saying he can get better than the last time you saw him out there.
Right.
I'm saying he played better in the spring than the last time you saw him play football.
Yeah.
Now, was it enough? No. But
emotionally prepare yourself for whoever the starter is going to be, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I did it last year. I was hoping to see something different, but once they take the field, all that debate is over. Whoever's out there just needs to play well. So
yeah, and let's be clear. If he doesn't play well, I'm gonna get on this show and I'm gonna do what I do, which is call out the fact that ain't it, bruh.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right.
It's funny when you listen to Calzada, the interview that we did with Calzada, he talks about the games he didn't play well last year.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about, I've got Arkansas circled. They got me. They tricked me with that zone bull, whatever they were doing. And I'm just going to be ready for it this year. Like, the same tricks will not work if I'm starting that game. And I think that if you look at these guys from one year to the next, they will tell you that they have room to improve their game as well. The belief of the fans on whether they can do that is something that I just don't think. So Ike's point, I don't understand why we're willing to give some guys all the rope in the world and then other guys just, I mean, it's over. We're seeing 3 games. So it's over.
A lot of it is the athleticism piece, right? Like TJ Finley could go out there and miss every wide open throw. If he was more athletic, people would have more leash for him because they would feel like at least he can go make plays with his legs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that a lot of the leash that you give some guys has to do with, well, what are the intangibles that he brings? And you don't see those intangibles yet from TJ Finley. You don't see any leadership intangibles. You don't see any like decision-making intangibles from him. So you're like, well, if he ain't doing this, then he's no good. And my point is that based upon what you've seen so far, I can't even be mad at that assessment. I guess my other point is still he's got room that he can improve because I've seen him make really great throws. It's just about and we will beat this horse until it's probably already dead. It's about raising the floor. And if he can raise his floor, the expectations of what he can do with his ceiling are pretty good. Again, I don't even think TJ Finley's ceiling is Heisman just because I don't see enough in the decision-making standpoint from him yet to get me there without a bunch of help.
Yeah.
And so, but I think that where he is a solid quarterback. When you have a great run game, he's going to be very difficult to game plan for because he's got a big arm. He's accurate in the short to intermediate space. He just needs to improve his deep ball accuracy, which will take us to our next chat that somebody's on there. But
Cousin Eddie says, who is the best deep ball QB?
I think it's Zach Calzada hands down.
Yeah, I think it's Calzada right now. But again, not to say that, TJ and Robbie could not have. We don't know that Robbie's deep ball isn't good, but not to say TJ could not have improved his deep ball, but if I had to put money on it, I would put money on what I've seen to date.
Yeah.
And it's definitely Zach Calzada at this point.
Okay. Chase Rowell asked, I think we missed one. But anyway, Chase Rowell says, yo, we need a Tank Bigsby interview. I know that hasn't stopped Mike G from trying to get one, or maybe he hasn't.
Once they get into camp, like, I mean, here's I get with the Building Rapport series, you know, Tank is a name, and honestly, I mean, we have a lot of forums to hear from Tank. Let me just put it that way. So we focus the energy on letting you guys hear from newer guys and guys who, you know, like guys like Marquise Burks, guys like Keontae Scott, who are coming in, future stars. But, you know, if you want to hear Tank, there are lots of avenues to hear Tank. I'm not saying I would turn the interview down, but that was not one I actively pursued very hard, if at all.
Jazzy says, I'm dead. I'm checking the truck for a tracker. He's responding to what Lauren said. I think you should have never went through Virginia. Might put a tracker on you.
Yeah, you know that Amazon package you got, that you know what it was? It was an Apple AirTag. That's exactly what it was. Connected to my Apple ID.
And Jazzy, appreciate the super chat. He said, I also informed my cousin I can't go to the wedding. Me and the truck are bringing our talent to the Plains for the Penn State game.
War Eagle to that, man.
War Eagle to you. They'll get over it. Now, congrats to them, by the way. Also, Jonathan Harris. Go ahead, Mike.
We should have Jazzy park the truck somewhere and then set up a tailgate around it. A Jazzy Joe truck tailgate, truck stop. That's what we should do.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, we'll get the sponsors ready. Stop shopping sponsors right now for that.
Yeah. Jonathan Harris says 3-4 requires those guys to 2-gap and be very strong. Something I am not sure Jason Jones will excel at. So I'm interested to see how the other two, Mba and Wright, come along.
I don't know. Yeah, Jason Jones, man. Listen, they're moving him all over the line. And I don't think strength is going to be an issue for him. Yeah, I don't know about that assessment of Jason Jones, man. Like he's a unit down there to try to move around. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that young man's going to do in the middle of that defense.
Okay, all right. Blake says Dawson, Tavares Dawson, 1,000 yards. Other than Coy, because we already know Coy's getting 1,000.
Yeah,
all right, listen.
There's your hot take. I said it.
That'll mean that deep ball we were just talking about is
working.
Either that or he's catching a bunch of short routes and taking them long yardages.
You know what I'm looking forward to maybe seeing this year is more 4 or 5 catches for 130-yard games from these receivers. Do you guys remember during Sammy Coates, I think during the 2013 season, Sammy Coates led the country, I believe, for a good portion of the season if he did not finish in yards per catch. Something crazy like 22 yards a catch or something.
Yeah.
And I forget where that stat line ended. I just remember during the season, they were just like, he would get to the third level and sit down in these pockets and Nick Marshall would just find him. And I think that's how you get to 1,000-yard receiver. You get that guy who he makes 3 catches during the game, but 3 really big catches. And the deep ball just has to come back, man. We saw TJ Finley put one on Dawson in that 8A game, and those are the catches that get you 200-yard games as a receiver. You have to make those catches, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you cannot count on the volume from the quarterback to get you there making 7 to 8 yard catches. 10 reception games for Auburn receivers might not be in the realm of reality, but 6 catch games, where you're catching 30-yard passes, maybe. So we can stretch the field vertically. I think it's possible for a guy like Dawson to get to 1,000 yards if the quarterback is hidden.
I mean, if he's doing that, then that means to y'all's point, as y'all mentioned earlier, that means Tank and Jarquez are going nuts.
Nuts.
They're going crazy. Yeah, man. So I definitely want to see that. Alex Wilson says at B Will just put 300 on Auburn to win the Natty. Real big payout. Players and coaches are bought in. They hungry.
They are. They just don't bet anything you can't afford to not have, because this is an investment and it's a long shot. And it's not because we aren't prepared. There are other teams who are just as talented, if not more talented. And unlike A&M and most of the other schools in the SEC, Bama and Georgia also have good coaching to go with the talent. So that's really the ceiling we're working against, is we may finally have the coaching to get the attitude right. And I'm believing too. If my season projection, I see a lot of people say 8-9 wins. I think 8 is our floor. Don't ask me to pick them. I couldn't pick them yet. I can't say which ones. I think 8 is our floor. So I'm absolutely betting the over on the season games. I'm actually kind of mad that the value is lower now, because everybody hammered the over when it was 5.5. And now if you want to get over 6, it's like -150. So you got to bet 150 to get 100. I want to see if there's a site I can tease it up and go over 7, so I can get that like straight up plus 100 value on that bet. But I don't think it's outlandish to put 100 on Auburn every year. I'm gonna put 100 on Auburn every year. Why not? Why not?
That's what I did. I already got the tradition going, baby. The only year I didn't do it, they won.
Yeah.
So there's
Is that when you started?
No, it wasn't. Like, I was doing it, but then I was living in Vegas when I started the tradition, and I moved to New Jersey, and then they outlawed online betting. So I didn't have a good way to put my bet in that year, and I was like, I'll just save the $100 this year. Then Cam Newton happened, and I was pissed.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah,
You were pissed but happy.
It still hurts.
Yeah. Exclusive TV asks, what room are we looking at next, fellas? He's thinking defensive back. Do we want to close out offense, say the quarterback talk to the end?
Definitely feel like the quarterback talk is going to get saved. The only place left we have to go are special teams, and I'll flip over to the defensive side. I feel like the DB room, I still want to see a little bit more in fall camp before we go there. So I'm thinking defensive line next. Okay. I don't know, but I mean, listen, it's not my decision. So, but D line is what I was thinking next.
Okay. We want to see if we can do something with the War Report community, what they want to see next.
Yeah, we can put
let us know.
Where?
Yeah, we may do a poll on that. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Exclusive. Jazzy says, and this is a response to I'm assuming Edward. Maybe Jazzy pulls a flatbed into town, and the tailgate is on the trailer. Jazzy Gate on. Jazzy responds, I was just talking about that. I need to park it where people can see it. If anyone knows places, hit me up on Twitter. This is something I've been wanting to do for years.
Yeah, it's slim pickings. I see somebody talking about it. I think Philip Coleman responds right here, saying that it's tough on campus, man. I as somebody who started back in 2002 all the way until I worked at Auburn up through 2020, man, they started locking down areas for parking, for tailgating more and more and more and more. And it was kind of to get control of the campus, because it was out of hand. I mean, you come in on Friday, man, cars would be all on curbs, and they really didn't like how disorganized that was. So they got their certain areas. You better find it off campus. They got a couple more parking decks around here. Now you're going to pay. You're going to pay at least $30 to park somewhere. And if it's close enough, you're going to pay more than that. But it's really tough to get your vehicle on campus if you don't have like one of those donor spots that are set aside for you. And something as big as a 18-wheeler, man, that'll be tough. That'll be tough. Off campus is probably your best bet, but yes, it's going to be tough.
For sure. Last one we got. Do you expect Jason to do the dirty work with plugging holes like Antavius Russell, or being an effective pass rusher too? I think he's just plugging up the middle, man, and letting Kobe Wooden and Harris just run wild, I think.
Yeah, I think his primary role is going to be run stuffer / occupying blocks on passing downs. And it's really going to depend on, like, we've got so much flexibility in that defensive line. I think it's just going to depend on who we're playing, what his role is going to be. But yeah, I think that his primary thing is just going to be, listen, nobody's running up the middle. So go occupy bodies. And if they dare to put one person on you, get rid of that guy and go get to that running back. So, yeah.
Indeed. I don't think we got any more. But listen, we would appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Mike G, you can tell people why they need to hurry up and become a patron in this off season, man.
We are less than a month from the season starting. So if you are not a patron, you need to become one. We've got lots of great patron-only content, including film reviews and other stuff we'll be doing during the season. That's our in-game chats. We go live pregame, halftime, and postgame. We make that family only for a lot of reasons to keep the trolls out. So if you want to be a part of that community, sign up as a patron. If you're on an iPhone, that price is going to look a little different, but that's only because iPhone charges extra fees. So watch out for that. You can sign up from a computer and it will transfer at this $5.99 price. Become a patron. Guys, we are giving you lots of interviews. This offseason, we started interviewing current players. Coy Moore is one of them. Great interview with this young man talking about what he hopes to accomplish this season. So this is live already for our patrons. A lot of you have viewed this. I think this is the most views we've gotten from the patron community on anything before we've released it to the public. So you don't want to miss this interview. Become a patron. You can get early access. Otherwise, this Thursday, it will be going live for everybody. We're on podcast, every single podcast platform. You can catch the War Rapport, B Will's Bums, Mike Mack and Memes, podcast only content. Subscribe, download, leave us a 5-star review so we can continue to climb the podcast charts. We're partnering with the Lee County Humane Society to save money to raise money for a good cause. Help us help them save every puppy we can by going to the About section of our YouTube channel, hitting that donate button. 50 cents on every dollar goes to them to help them in their mission to save every single puppy we can. Want to give a final shout out to our title sponsor, Athletic Architects, Chill Boys, Roll Shop, prize picks coming up for this season. We've got a lot of companies that have made the decision to get behind the War Report this season. So we appreciate all our sponsors. Support us by patroning them as well, too.
Indeed. And you guys, be on the lookout for some content coming up. Definitely with Facts or Nah, that's getting into the season. We'll definitely be on the lookout for that, and as well as our midweek report coming up. But guys, please be sure to share this video using hashtag Get Your Weight Up. Smash that like button before you get out of here. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe. You can hit us up on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook at The War Rapport, or TW Rapport on TikTok. That's it for now, guys, but definitely more content on the way. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.